and recording. There, that does look a bit better. All right, so as always, super excited. And just like, oh, there can't be that much more I can teach. I'm like, oh no, I can do 4 more spin-offs of this subject alone. So yes, I'm just going to put my notes over here.
I've decided when it comes to learning about your body, it's ethics. Because they learn things faster than you can. Yeah. So many different ways the body can move.
Okay. So, believe it or not, you're working more than just the diaphragm and the spine when you're doing this.
3 minutes?
No, I'm good. I've been cold at my house, so.
I've been opening it every morning when I exercise, so it's not good to stay on that.
But today's focus is on stretching the upper body and the arms. But specifically, we're going to go over all the small muscles. They're called accessory muscles that help you breathe and where they are. And some of the accessory muscles are in your low back. So you're not just massaging your diaphragm as you do this spinal rotation, you're getting some of the accessory muscles that help you breathe. And coming to stillness. And we're going to do our straight spinal roll down. So let's just remember a way that we can get our feet directly underneath us. So you can turn the heels out, which will help you drop that tailbone. You can bring the heels in, which then pushes the femur up into the pelvis, and then bring them right to center, and that helps you find that sweet spot so your hips will be even. Let's take a moment, feel our breath. And as I teach, I start to observe how often my tongue automatically goes to the roof of my mouth. Even according to my physical therapist, the tongue at the roof of the mouth is the at-rest position. Like if you're typing, that's where your tongue goes. And I pay attention if that's where I want it to rest when I'm doing my spinal rolls or only at the end.
Do you have the whole of your tongue resting on the top or just the tip?
Feels like 1/4 inch. So not just the tip. When I say the tip, it's that whole. And in Oriental medicine, there's actually 3 positions. There's behind the teeth, the middle of the mouth, and all the way in the back. And each of them are different acupressure points. And so when they say rest the tip of the tongue at the roof of the mouth, whatever feels very gentle, natural, and it just feels like that front part is there. Okay, drop your head. Feel it stretches open your neck. Allow your head to be heavy. As you start to roll down the spine, rounding the back, being aware of any areas of tension, and you can hang out. And I'm not going all the way to my toes. I'm deliberately staying pretty high, and I just go as far down until I can feel it stretch down to my sacrum. And then you can reach back and feel your sacrum and push down on it to make sure you start rolling up from the bottom. Rolling up. When you get to the top, turn the palms out. Extending the chest forward, opening up the front of the chest, and lift the neck. I naturally open the jaw. Stretch the front of the neck. And back to center. And I'll relax that tailbone down. Taking a 5-count breath in. 5-count breath out. Inhaling again. Exhale, drop the chin. Allow yourself to roll down. Rounding the spine, stretching. And then tucking the tailbone, rolling up again. When you get there, extend. You can even try turning the neck from side to side to open up the muscles on either side of the neck in this extended position. Back to center. Now to stretch the attachments in between our shoulder blades, we're going to do a roll down with the arm motion. So inhale, come up. Fingertips together. And this helps you to round that back. Keep the back of the hands touching. And reach towards the earth and you'll feel a nice stretch. Relax. Turn them this way now. And there. And then rolling up. Uncoil the arms. And back to center. And now we're going to do the ribs. So we're going to hip flex forward. And let's just take a moment, put our hands on our knees, lift our toes and look forward, stretching those hamstrings down the back. So you should feel it down the back of the legs. And relax and dropping forward. See how easy I just slipped that in there? Now turn the body to the side. You're taking it off the center line. And starting to roll up. Gonna open up the ribs on the side of the body. Keeping one hand near the leg and the other one's going to come up and rotate like combing the hair. That will help to open up the shoulder and put it by, yep. And this one's going to reach up as you slide down. Feel how it opens up the side of the ribs as you're coming down. Oh. Back to center. And rolling up. And our psoas stretch, support the low back. Coming up, stretching down the body. Back to center. And back to center. Inhale, reach up. So we're going to go into the arm motions. If you need to sit, you can sit for the arm motions, or you can continue standing. So,
Can I sit on a chair?
yes, you can sit on the chair. That's going to be best. So for this next part, I'm going to start to break down gaze of the tiger into the different elements. So for this, I'm not as strong. Just take one. We're not going to be lifting weights. We're going to use this actually to help us open things up. I hear Sherry. So,
I've got some 3-pound weights.
I've got 2 more here, so that's enough. We only need 1 each. So what we're going to do is actually don't even tense to hold it up. Let it drop and feel the weight and how that is pulling the shoulder down. And that in itself is stretching the shoulder. I'm actually starting to combine myofascial release and stretches to help you feel what's supposed to be happening when you do gaze of the tiger. Now, with this arm being completely heavy, flex the neck to the opposite side, a lateral flexion. And feel how that downward pull of the weight is going to help to open up the side of your neck. So you're leaning away from the weight. And it will feel, you'll feel a pulling, and you'll feel an elongation. You're working with the fascia now. And you're elongating the fascia, and you're just waiting for it. As it opens, you'll be able to move your head a little bit more. And that's all you need to do, is allow yourself to be heavy and elongate the fascia. Ideally, you can start to feel this when you drop your tailbone, because the weight of your tailbone when you're doing your standing meditation would elongate the fascia on either side of your spine. But here's an example of feeling a weight, and as it opens the side of your neck. Now come back to center and put the weight on this side, but we're still going to work with this side. And what it is if you don't have a weight, you can do a palm and reach towards the earth and then flex your neck. And really reach towards the earth with that arm reaching down, and you should start to feel the same stretch on the side of your neck with that lateral flexion. Are you getting the same effect? And if you can't quite do it with the palm pushing this way, try reaching with the fingertips. If the palm is flexed like this, then you're stretching the inside of the arm too. But if you need to feel it this way, can you guys start to feel that pull on the side of the neck? Now, Mom, you're turning this way. Try ear to shoulder. Can you feel that stretch? Because this is rotation. That's going to be different than a lateral flexion. Mm-hmm. Yes. Right. Different muscles. Mm-hmm. And then come back to center. Switch hands. Put the weight in the other. Oops. Come on down. We're just getting started with the new stuff anyways. So now allow the weight to drop down. And now we're going to start to lean our head in the other direction. So go ahead and pick up a weight. Hi. So weights are right here. Go ahead and grab one. Mm-hmm. And you only need one. So what we're doing is you have the weight and you're not going to try to hold it. You're going to let it be a dead weight and let it pull the arm towards the earth. And just allowing that weight to pull the arm towards the earth, feel how that's starting to just elongate the tissue in your arm and your shoulder. Let that hang. And as this arm goes down and becomes heavier, you're not going to rotate. You're going to do a lateral flexion, which means taking your ear to your shoulder, and you're going to move away from the weight. So now you're going to get a nice stretch down the side of your neck. And it'll feel tight, you'll feel a pulling, and you just want to breathe into it until that fascia elongates and opens. And then slow, deep breaths. I've been talking, so I haven't had a chance to breathe with it. Now, if you're working with mild fascial release, you can hang out here for a couple minutes and allow that arm to elongate and the fascia and the muscles in the neck to elongate as well. I'll come back to center. Go ahead and put the weight down. If you don't have a weight, if you press this way, you'll stretch the hand at the same time. If that's too much, just reach towards the ground, but relax the arm, reach, and again, you do the lateral flexion. You should feel that opening up on the side of the neck. Now, if you want to enhance this more, reach over the crown of the head. So you're going to reach down and pull your neck away from that arm. And breathe. Come back to center. Now let's do that with the stretch. So reach over, grab the head, take it the other direction, and reach down. And back to center. So, when you're doing gaze of the tiger, that's the first part, because I will always say push your hands towards the ground And it gets to be more complicated because you're bending the elbows too, but that's what you should be feeling in your neck. Gaze of the tiger is a compound exercise. You're doing multiple things at the same time, but if you're to do that on the isolation or with the weights, and if 3 pounds not enough, you can do 5 pounds, you can do 8 pounds, but enough to open that up. The next part of gaze of the tiger has to do with the scapulas, stretching the scapulas. Taking the elbows and moving them back, this is called winging the scapulas. And notice how my palms are here, and I bring my palms back to my rib cage, and I keep my elbows in. A mistake I often see is people take their elbows out. Now flare the elbows out. What happens to your scapulas? They're flat. They're no longer being stretched. So you have to be in, and you're pulling them straight back. And that's also going to be, you're moving the scapulas, but you also get a little bit of extension in the rib cage and that thoracic. Now, can you take your elbows and pull them down at the same time, which is this stretch. So you're stretching the shoulders, pulling down, and pushing back at the same time. And then you can lift the chin up for a stretch. And I move my jaw. You're going to be stretching the muscles in the front of the neck as your elbows are pulled back and pushed down. Then if you come back to center. Now this is the rotation. Turn the head to the side and open the eyes wide and the jaw. How that's opening up the attachments in the neck. Come back to center. Turn the head, open the jaw. And back to center and release. So, elbows back, you can feel that in the scapulas. Different than here. Now, when I teach, I'll usually repeat the same words I've been taught. And people will say, imagine taking your fingertips past the hips. I find I can't, unless they're further down, but then you lose that winging in the scapula. So I'm finding if you just take your wrists back to the rib cage, that is enough to get the deep winging of the scapula. If you take your fingertips back, your arms have to be straight, and this becomes a different exercise. And how I've seen this exercise done, if you press towards the ground and the arms are straight, you can take the fingers back and even further, and that's a different stretch of the scapula. Can you feel that? But, and when I've seen it, they will have one leg forward because it helps you stabilize because you're reaching so far behind your center of gravity. And now I'm just doing comparison. Keep the elbows straight here. And then arms straight. Here I feel more engaged in the shoulders here. So when they're shorter, then you'll get a better neck stretch because you're engaging the muscles up high and you combine it with the neck stretch. There's some, put a pin in that because I'm going to show you an alternate way to stretch the scapulus in just a moment. The next part of gaze of the tiger is the fingers. The flexion of the wrist is to stretch the tendons and the fascia on this side. And it's particularly good for carpal tunnel because this is the ligament that gets tight for carpal tunnel. Now, so they would have us do this a lot in massage school, this stretch. So bend the elbows, flex the wrists, and again, you want it to be down. And now really flex the wrists and push down towards the earth. So you feel it in the wrists, you feel it in the scapulas, and then turn the head and you'll feel it in the neck. And you open the eyes wide. And then release. Feel that more intensely in gaze of the tiger. And then you do this to relax and bring the chi flow. So you have an intense stretch and then the relaxation. Now this is Rippling Pond from Smiling Heart Qigong, bringing the chi up and down to recirculate through the body before the intense stretch again. So let's do that gaze of the tiger, but turn the neck the other direction. So you want to feel the stretch in the wrists, bend the elbows. You're going to bring the elbows back, turn the head opposite of what you just did, and open the jaws and the eyes, and then relax. then circulate the qi. So that, in Oriental medicine, they say will open up all 3 meridians running from the neck and down into the arm, because things go meridian-wise hand to face energetically. It also runs that way, fascia and the attachment of the muscles, which I'm about to show today too. Now further with the fingers, start with the pinky, and I'm going to have you make tiger claws. Go here, just scrunch and release, scrunch and release, scrunch and release. So in some of the other practices, they'll have finger strengthening exercises. This is important if you are a massage therapist, because you use your hands all day. It would be good strengthening. It may or may not be good for arthritis, I'll be honest, because arthritis is more circulation loose, but this will definitely tone your fingers. So massage therapists for grips, martial artists for grips. You grab a hold of your opponent with the eyes, or quite frankly, eye gouging. So, and for sword, strengthen your grip on sword or a cane, quite frankly. But it's this scrunching down and back. So I'm saying all that to say this: you can add that in to your gaze of the tiger. You can flex here, but you can also then make the tiger claws as you're doing the stretch. So you're strengthening the fingers, flexing the wrists, bending the elbows, opening up the scapula, opening up into the neck and into the face and the jaw. So with all that, let's put gaze of the tiger together, and then I'm going to show you some offshoots that I do, and then we'll sit down and go over our handout. So gaze of the tiger itself, and it can be done seated or standing, which is what's nice about this one. So the first one is leading with the wrist, is going to be rippling pond. Inhale, come up, and down. The transition is you scoop and bring the elbows in. I didn't go into this, but if you bring the elbows in, can you now feel the stretch? So that is getting this inside aspect of the arm. In. Pushing the elbows down. And release. That's a full body stretch of those meridians. Now scoop, bring the elbows in. And release. Two more times. Bringing those elbows in. Yep. And scoop. And close with this rippling pond. And those are the elements of gaze of the tiger, and I can really feel the muscles in my mid-back engaged after that too. So a lot of these, they'll look very soft, but once you understand the intention, can really start to stretch and engage, you'll realize how it's opening up all the different attachments. Now, something that I learned from yoga. So I'm going to teach you how to do this on the wall, because my concern is sometimes people, you're in an office building or you have bad knees. So typically this would be done in a child's pose or a downward dog. But what you're going to do is we're going to come over to the wall and come over where you can see me. And this will get a little bit into, remind me to talk a little bit more about frozen shoulder. I didn't put in the handout. But see how I've made my tiger claws? Because you want to have this elevation to the wall. And what you're going to do is have this space, and then I'm going to lean forward so my head is in front of my scapulas. And you should then feel a stretch down and into your scapulas. And you lose that space. If your hands are flat, you can't quite get that stretch. Adding the fingers gives you a couple of extra inches so you can feel it opening up into the joint of the body. Can you feel that in here? Yeah. Here to here? Yep. Doing okay? In here? And here to here. Okay, go ahead and come up. And alternate. Now, again, to add to this, this is another way to strengthen your fingers. If you're on the ground, you actually learn how to grip the ground and even come up on your fingertips. And that's the prelude to fingertip push-ups, by the way. Just, because first you do downward dog and other things. There's a whole routine with that. But if you want to stretch the scapula more, as you have this here, you take this hand and you're going to reach across and under the body, and you can reach your scapula and pull it to give it a nice twist, and then lean forward again. And that will give you another stretch. So what you do, yep, you got it, and it's going to pull that way. Feel that?
Yes.
Yes. Yep, you're way more flexible. Now you're grabbing deltoid. Grab your scapula and twist it. Yes, and right now you're rotating here. See if you can keep that straight. Now pull. Yep. See how that's more engaged? Mm-hmm. Yep. You're flexible in the low back. That's good. That looks good, Mom. All right, then go ahead and repeat on the other side. You reach under and across your midline. You grab the scapula. If you want to do this to the deltoid, that's just a different stretch. But we're going to focus on the scapula. Pull it and lean forward. And I can feel my attachments. And release. So that comes from yoga. That is one of my favorite stretches in yoga for the scapula. It complements gaze of the tiger nicely. Do I do them every day? No. But if I start to feel it, I know what to do. So with that, let's all sit in a circle, have a seat. Chairs, and actually, hold on, put a pin in that. There's one more I just remembered. One more, because I'm having to do things out of sequence today. Wrists. So that was scapula. One more for wrists, and you guys will recognize this before. When I was in massage school, they showed me how to stretch this way, which will open up this side of the wrist. It wasn't until later I learned how to open up here, and this is the side I got the injury on. This is palmar side, this is dorsal side. And it's because I actually got a ganglion cyst in the joints. So I wanted to stretch that side. So to treat both sides, inhale, reach up. You do flat palms towards the sky with the fingers touching. You guys remember this, recognize this? So you're stretching, and you should feel that through the palms. And I'll turn so it's easier to follow. Go ahead and drop one down by the back. And it's traditionally done with feet together, and I'll flat to my back. And you don't want the elbow and the shoulder up. You want to drop the elbow and the shoulder, but push out with your palm, like you're pushing onto a wall. And then the key is starting with your pinky. Start with the pinky, the middle finger. This is you practicing articulating and strengthening your fingers. You're going to turn to the dorsal side. And now push with the dorsal side. You should feel that all along here to stretch those tendons. Now, if you want to intensify this, put the thumb on the inside of the palm, coil your fingers around, you'll bend your elbow slightly, make that fist. You'll really feel it intensely stretch this side. Release. You can give it a little shake. Traditionally, you can shake for a good minute, by the way. Let's come up again. Push up. Make sure you drop the shoulder and the elbow. I'll flatten my back. Push the palm. Start with the pinky. Pinky coiling around. That's important because that's a grab, by the way. Push on the dorsal side. Thumb in. Coil the fingers, stretching the outside of the hand. Release and come down. Shake out. Now, let me show you what that can lead up to. You can learn how to do this. We'll practice with the pads versus the fingertips. Fists. It's been a long time. Wrists here. You can stretch here, but I can do push-ups this way too. and you strengthen, and that's so you can hit this way. But yeah, and so you're learning to engage the core and strengthen all the way out and around. But the wall is good, other things are good, gripping the ground, etc., etc. Good massage therapist, good kung fu. Canning jars, those are great to practice holding. You can, if your husband, come in the kitchen, you're doing this, holding a jar, that's good as weightlifting to build that. And then you make the jar heavier and make the jar heavier. Yep, don't mess with me in my kitchen. and it's so you develop that grab. That ability to grab and articulate, because people come over and grab you, can grab them back, and it really startles them. Anyways, and for me, it's I need to be strong with my grab, but also very supple, because if I really grab my clients, they tend not to come back. So, rejuvenating to remember my old workout. Okay, now we can bring the chairs around. I used to do them this way and that way, and anyways. I digress.